Greetings, my name is Tim Johnson, and my proposal title is called Practice Habits of String Music Students in Elementary School Visual and Performing Arts Programs. And this is an empirical mixed methods survey. An empirical survey research is comprised of 5 steps. Basically, step 1 is to conduct student survey consisting of both qualitative and quantitative research, otherwise known as mixed methods. Step 2 requires induction. This is where, as the researcher, I'll generate possible conclusions based on inductive reasoning to explain the empirical data and associated assumptions that I discover. Step 3 is based on deduction. And here, as the researcher, I'll generate possible hypotheses by applying logic and rationalization from the data results that we collect. Step 4 is the testing piece. And here, as the researcher, I'll be testing the hypotheses by combining data resulting from the qualitative and quantitative mixed method approach, and will arrive at objective methods that will support or negate the research hypotheses. And finally, the last step is the evaluation piece. Here we have a narrative report that will be put together, providing an analysis based on the empirical data, research findings, supporting arguments, literature, and any challenges that are encountered during the research process. The background for this subject and this research is near and dear to my heart. As a musician, I had a blessed opportunity from the 3rd grade all the way through the 12th grade to have an uninterrupted music training experience. And I practiced 2 to 3 hours, usually every day at home. I was self-regulated, I was motivated, and I was supported. And because of that, I believe that this is a great challenge to look into. First of all, music is considered a language, and as a language, it has to be taught and learned at the earliest age possible to gain proficiency. Secondly, many students at the secondary level have found that learning how to read music is difficult unless the learning process starts when you're young, much earlier. Many of these students struggle in maintaining an interest in music classes, and they attempt to learn to play at a later time by rote or by ear, and they simply become frustrated, and many eventually just leave the music program altogether. Secondary feeder programs for visual and performing arts programs, such as string orchestra, fully depend on music students at the elementary grade levels, such as 5 and 6, to practice at home and as a prerequisite to develop these music skills, such as note reading, and to achieve proficiency when performing on their musical instrument. And then, while music students typically practice repertoire together during class time, this class time does not always provide students with time to practice technical skills, such as scales and etudes. And students are expected to practice these technical skills at home daily to become proficient. And therefore, there are many questions which are generated and require an in-depth investigation to determine what students are actually doing. And one of the first very important questions is this: are music students at the elementary level reaching their music practice goals? Secondly, how can we help music students practice effectively and improve the health of our visual and performing arts programs? The purpose of this empirical survey research is to gain knowledge about the practice habits of students who are enrolled in instrumental music programs, specifically at 3 elementary school sites in Central California, which are supported by the Fairfax Unified School District's Visual and Performing Arts VAPA program. The objective, therefore, is to gain an understanding about the practice habits of instrumental music students from the conclusions and findings of self-reporting student surveys, and also from research found in published literature. From this experience, the researcher will gain new insight about the practice habits of instrumental music students. And some of those resources are Thinking and Playing Music by Cheryl Ayotte, for example, and some older literature such as Teaching Music by Darwin Walker explain about the requirements for discipline at home when practice is happening, and the significance of researching the practice habits of music students will provide a new understanding of how we can better support student development and track the efforts of visual and performing arts initiatives, and also the school district's goals to build stronger VAPR programs. Advancing scientific knowledge can be expected from analyzing collected data and research literature about the significance of music practice for the musician. Sharing new data and literature associated with this investigation with the VAPA research and practitioner community will add back to the knowledge and practice base of music educators and will lead to better support in building and sustaining stronger VAPA programs. So how will we do this? Our methodology for this research will consist of creating and administering an ex post facto student survey instrument using a Google survey form, which I'll call Appendix A, for the purpose of determining the method or methods students apply when engaged in private music practice outside of class time and gaining new understandings on how students self-regulate. And from this Appendix A, we'll gather and track important components related to the development of technical skill sets, including the student's practice time. A mixed methods procedure will be used to conduct this research using both quantitative and qualitative data, a mixed method approach generated from the ex post facto student surveys. Stratified sampling will be conducted across the pool of respondent candidates from each of the 3 school sites, elementary school sites, as this may be the best choice among the probability sampling methods when subgroups such as these 3 schools may have different mean values for the variables that we'll collect from the data. This collected data will also generate descriptive and diagnostic analyses to guide myself as the researcher in identifying the quality of musicianship expected from the practice habits of instrumental music students. After the data is coded and sorted, student patterns of music acumen and proficiencies will result and arise from this research. Following the collection and data analysis, I will be able to identify areas of improvement as the researcher and introduce viable solutions. And these findings and the supporting data will then be provided to students and parents in a descriptive, detailed report. And then I want to draw everyone's attention to what my drive looks like. Here I have my appendices, my data, my empirical survey, which is containing my IRB proposal, my empirical survey presentation, which I'm sharing, and then my literature data. And I just want to share a little bit of what that looks like. The Appendix A, the first 5 questions are open-ended and allow students the opportunity to go into detail and provide more information in an expanded method so that we can see what students think about music practice. So these are open-ended, and then we get to the closed-ended questions, such as, how important is practicing your instrument to you? On a Likert scale of 1 to 5, students are given the opportunity to share how they feel about this. And then these questions go all the way down And the last question is, what is the likelihood you will keep playing the same instrument you play now until you graduate? And this gives us some kind of an idea of retention expectations. And it also allows us to see if students really like practicing or like practicing the instrument they chose. And so this is a very good tool, I believe, to lead us to some analyses. We will then collect all of this data and put it into our dissertation mapping for each of the 3 schools. And we'll be able to have drop-down control so we can capture all of the qualitative responses as well as the qualitative variables, and then the quantitative responses and the quantitative variables as well. So here we have a way to track each student and gather all of the data. There will be more development, I'm sure, on this particular instrument. And then I want to share what my literature tool looks like. And that is here where I'm gathering all of my literature that will give me more understanding of how to write my dissertation and what experts in the field are saying, such as motivating orchestra students, student practice and string programs, and investigating equity, improving student engagement. There's some other perhaps mitigating circumstances that I may want to explore. And so I'm excited about it. It's going to be really fun to pull all this together. And so I want to thank everybody for your time, and I appreciate hearing from you all as well. Thank you so much.